I have never driven the 100 series Land Cruiser, so I want to see if it actually lives up to the hype. My friend Steven is selling this particular Land Cruiser, so if you happen to be interested, I'll include a link to the listing in the description down below. Also include a link to my car buying guide. Let's get into it. Powering this is a 4.7 liter V8 that goes through a 5-speed. It produces 265 horsepower and then 310 pound-feet of torque. The more of you that are subscribed to this channel, the more access I get to cars to review for you, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd help out with that. Now this does have some aftermarket parts added to it like most 100 series at this point, so roof rack, rooftop tent, light bar. But anyways, back to some of the other elements. When I closed the hood, it felt super solid. Gotta love the iconic boxy headlight design. You also have boxy fog lights. And yes, we've got marker lights here in the grille with the Toyota logo there in the Heritage style. Again, this is aftermarket too. But for a vehicle that was originally, designed when it comes to the looks well over 20 years ago, this is good looking. Now, aftermarket tires and wheels, 275 by 70 by 17, and if you guys have seen the videos of my Land Cruiser, you'll recognize these. These are actually the takeoffs for my Land Cruiser because we swapped wheels back and forth. Now, this does have aftermarket suspension. It's slightly lifted, and so it does not have the active height control anymore. And a lot of people do this because, well, first off, the stance is amazing, but also it adds quite a bit of reliability because that active height control can be a little bit finicky. Now, speaking of aftermarket, this also has a remote start system added to it that wasn't from the factory. We also have like a million keys. I do like the original key here. There we go. It has that kind of old school durable look and feel to it. Now, just like my 200 series, it actually has the double open. It's all manual, but still super nice to have the tailgate. Although this is smaller than the 200 series, you still had a third row with these 100 series. Cramped though. Yeah, I love the mechanical feel of everything and just the actuation. It's nice. And then again, look how boxy the taillights are here in the rear. Overall, I like the look so far, so let's pop inside and see what that's all about. Man, these doors feel super sturdy. I miss when they did interiors like this. Like, look how well this is held up over the years in the door panel. And then these seats too, they don't do leather seats like this anymore, sadly. I will say legroom back here is pretty darn good. We also, looks like have our own kind of like controls for the radio in the back, which is interesting. Also have a little TV back here, and there's vents throughout the top. Headroom in the back of the 100 series is also good. Let's take a look at the front. More really nice trim here on the front door panel. 1,200 pounds of payload, that is not bad at all, but 69.25 for the gross vehicle weight rating. That means this weighs 5,700 pounds. And then look at the front seat here. Again, really nice trim, power adjustable. Passenger seat's also power adjustable with the lumbar support too. I like the physical controls here, like the mirror adjustment. That's aftermarket for the light bar, of course. And of course, stick the key in the ignition, old school style. Oh, that's such a nice feeling actuation. So smooth to start up, wow. So we've got nice trim all around the steering wheel. Got the old school cruise control stock there, and then you actually have like volume controls and everything on the steering wheel. This is stuff that I usually associate with more modern cars. And look at the gauge cluster on this. You can see over 200,000 miles on this particular one, by the way. But yeah, that's cool for the gear select that shows that on the dash. And not the greatest resolution, but this actually has a backup camera, surprisingly. And the rest of the screen, I think it's actually a touch screen. I mean, this is old school as it gets, but it's a touch screen. Remember when nice tactile feeling physical buttons were a thing? That's definitely the case with this car. I mean, for the climate controls, for example. And you actually have a cool little button for the center diff lock too. This will no longer be functional because they took away the active height control, but you do have the controls for that just up front. And then you have your start and second, and then your power mode right there. I love the leather shifter here. And then look at that, traditional shifter for the four-wheel drive select too. Just look at this all across the dash. I really wish they used these materials still. And we do have a sunroof. Let's see how the 100 series performs and see if it lives up to the hype. Let us set off in the 100 series. Steering wheel's kind of hot. I think it's like 100 degrees today. Oh, it's 95, close enough. This isn't sitting out in the sun, it's a black car, so yeah, the steering wheel's a little bit toasty. That's why I have window tint on all my, this has window tint on the sides and everything, but that's why I got window tint on all my cars. Don't have to deal with lava steering wheel. This engine is impressive. It is so smooth. Doesn't have a crazy amount of power. Very smooth. Now, let's give you guys a quick background on why Steven is selling this. Basically, he's been using this as, you know, partially daily driver and then also the family adventure car. He works at the Toyota dealership. He decided to try out the new 4Runner Trail Hunter. He absolutely loves it. He got a trailer that works really good with the 4Runner, and so although he loves this thing and never wanted to sell it, you know, he's going with the new stuff. And he, you know, I will say, he's just honest with himself. Like most people, they'll be like, oh, I'm not going to buy new cars all the time. He's like, I work at a Toyota dealership. I love Toyotas. I'm going to end up probably buying a new Toyota every few years. So like me, you know, holding on to this 100 series thinking that I'm not going to want another new car again, it's just, he says it's just not realistic. So he's honest with himself. So like, yeah, if you want a really nice, the only reason why this was traded into the dealership and he bought it right away as soon as it was traded in. I think it was a couple years ago, something like that. Anyways, yeah. So if you want to pick one up. Now the suspension on this is definitely early 2000s suspension. And what I mean by that is suspension has come a long way with these SUVs and trucks, where this can handle the bumps and everything. You can tell it handles the compression just fine. With that being said, the handling on it's not horrible actually. It's actually handles pretty darn well. I'd say it even almost handles better than my 200 series in some ways. But the suspension does kind of bump all over the place a little bit more. And I've noticed that with all early 2000s trucks and SUVs, they weren't as planted as the modern cars can really stay hung. And this is not bad at all. Like that is actually really good over the train tracks. Better than like I've reviewed an early 2000 G-Wagon, for example. That was much more all over the place. Solid axles, front and rear though. So that probably explains a bit of it. But oh, that's sad. They're getting rid of another farm. Anyways, point being, this isn't as well dampened as a 200 series or even the new 250. And again, Steven has the 4Runner, which a Trail Hunter 4Runner is basically a 250 Land Cruiser. Really, you look at the equipment it has and everything it offers. And those just like the handling sharper. When you go over bumps, it handles everything better. It really does. The real highlight of this is honestly the engine. Now I know some people would say, well, if it had still had the stock suspension, again, I can't comment on that. I haven't driven one of these with active height control. I probably need to go do that now. But yeah, this engine is a beauty. Not a crazy amount of power. Really, really nice. It's just smooth. But I am thinking that I like my 200 series more. Like this objectively has more premium materials throughout, like the doors, everything in this feels just higher quality. Like the 200 series, my version, because I have a 2020, a little bit more plasticky than this, so that is something I would say that's very important to be reminded of, that this is a lot less plasticky feeling than the 200 series. But if you get an early 200 series, those are less plasticky than the 2016 plus. But I still prefer the drive of the 200 series. I think it handles a little bit better. People complain about like the front end coming in. It is something to be aware of. This doesn't have that, but you get used to it, and I think it still handles better actually. I've been driving this a little bit longer. And the biggest thing is just the engine. Like the 200 series 5.7 V8, I would say is just as smooth as this, but it actually has power. Like this is incredibly smooth. The power is kind of lacking. So it's kind of like a give and take from that perspective. This does drive really well though. So, conclusion time. I think the one, I mean, again, this is my first time with the 100 series. This obviously isn't a stock 100 series. I think this is a really cool car. I do think that it is slightly overhyped, considering the fact that 200 series prices on early 200 series are overlapping with the 100 series quite a bit. And so I would say that like there's obviously, this happens all the time with cars, right? It's like it has to get to a certain point where like the 200 series gets, maybe it'll slip a little bit more in price, and then people will finally go, okay, maybe I'll try the 200 series. But like, as somebody who owns the 200 series, I think the 200 series is objectively, like I prefer KDSS over, you know, having to worry about an active height control system. I don't like that. I prefer KDSS. I like how KDSS handles on-road and off-road. Obviously I haven't taken this off-road. And then I prefer the engine performance. This is really good. So my thoughts is, if you can get one of these for, you know, less than a 200 series, yeah, of course, right? And for the most part you can. But if you get to the point where there's price overlap, because I've seen some of these with like lower mileage and all that kind of stuff that have gone, they're well into 200 series pricing categories, I would look at the 200 series. Because at this point, like when you're paying big money for one of these, like the ones that are going for like, I've seen them at $50,000 plus, you're really paying to have a low mileage. You're paying for kind of like a collector car rather than something to actually use. Like this is one that you could actually use because it's got over 200,000 miles, got the modifications and everything. But yeah, this is cool. I guess, does it live up to the hype? The reliability obviously does. There's tons of aftermarket support for these, but I would say that the 100 series at this point is slightly overrated and the 200 series is underrated, but the 200 series is also more expensive for now. I think if 200 series prices slip a little bit more, it'll be a no-brainer, but at the current pricing, yeah, I could still understand, like I said, getting one of these. Let me know your thoughts on that conversation.